right. Ooh, Jays. Jeez, Robert, you got that loud. Well, we are in a gymnasium that was used right up until 6 o'clock tonight from after school. The kids came over, and we had a ton of kids in this gym making good choices on where to go after school. So that's why we're here. But for those of new faces here, my name is Patty Roberts. I'm the Deputy Director of the City of Port St. Lucie Parks and Rec Department. And this is one of our great facilities, the only one, if I may add, on the west side, which we're hoping to change in the years to come anyway. But you're here tonight for Wellness Connection. And Wellness Connection rolled out as another program under what I call my Healthy You program. Healthy You is about mental health. Wellness Connection is about health. So we try to distinguish those two things, but I do want to just offer out a couple things, and I need to get over here so that I'm in the recording. But we've got a big month coming ahead of us. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Does everybody know that? Okay. So the City of Port St. Lucie our department is offering a number of different programs during May. All of them are free. Every one of them is free to the public. And so, while I grab my cue card here, we will be offering 8 free programs. Now keep in mind, all 8 will be outside in city parks. That's the beauty of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We'll be offering 4 free yoga classes, 2 forest bathing classes. Does anybody know what forest bathing is? Forest bathing. Okay, I got that too when I came back from a conference last year and brought this to PSL, but forest bathing is derived from the Middle Eastern culture, and translated, it literally means to immerse oneself in nature. So forest bathing, we're going to have it 2 times in May, one at Botanical Gardens and one at, I think it's Woodstock Trail Park on the east side. And what essentially it is the instructor will take you out on the trails, and it's a combination of mindfulness, meditation, and just a tidge of yoga. They assure me that I could do it, so there's not much yoga in it, but so we offered 1 session last year, and it was so crowded. So many people came, so we expanded it to 2 this year. So that's in May. Then we're also offering a brain fitness class. That'll be at the community center on the outdoor plaza. That's very popular. And then we're also going to offer, a brand new one, and it's called Anxiety Reduction in Nature. And we've got a therapeutic rec specialist coming to us, and he will come out to Woodland Trails Park, which is not far from here. It's in the southwestern area. And Mr. Anter will lead us through the trail there, and showing us practical exercises to reduce our anxiety using nature. So keep those in mind. Again, they're all free, all outdoors at they're Saturdays and Thursdays, so there's a schedule. Go to thecityofpsl.com/healthyyou, and you'll find the schedule there. The last thing I'll mention before we bring on our presenters, something else we're doing with May is Mental Health Awareness Month that I'm personally very excited about is we are soliciting and encouraging donations from our public to assemble and purchase they're called the letter U, Matter Kits. And what they are, and I should have brought one and I apologize, but they are essentially very large baggies that are enclosed, and they contain hygiene items, such as trial size bar soap, toothpaste, toothbrush, new pair of socks, sunscreen, off wipes to keep the bugs away, lip balm, did I say sunscreen, crackers, a sleeve of crackers, bottled water, and then 2 essential ingredients in each bag. One is a 211 business card that lists all the resources that are available if you're suffering from substance use disorder or mental health or suicide ideations. So you'll have a resource. And then the second thing that's in each bag is a handwritten note of encouragement. That is it, and it varies, the message varies in each bag. But each bag is assembled and intended to be given to those who are experiencing homelessness or who are financially disadvantaged. We have a lot in this community who are, okay? So we're doing it a couple different ways. We're kicking it off Monday. I had 200 bags that were assembled in my office, and before I left tonight, there are 4 left. And the reason for that, thank you for that look of dismay, because that means there's a need for it, but is we invited our park officers. We enjoy the partnership with the PD. We have 6 police officers that patrol our parks, and they see such a need that they wanted 10 bags per car. So I invited them in. They took their bags this morning, and they will give them out. They're out there seeing people. I'm not. And then we also gave them out to some of our parks where the supervisors say, hey, I've got, X number of people that I know could use this. But the primary intention of it simply is to say, I see you, I recognize you, and I want you to know that I do that. I see you, and it will get better. And so that's the intention behind a You Matter kit. We're really I am trying to get the community involved to give donations. So we've got 6 donation boxes set up in Parks and Rec at our front desks, and would love if anyone would consider donating, because that way we can purchase more supplies and assemble them, because I have a feeling with 200 bags already gone, and it's not quite May 1st, I think we're going to have more needs. So I want to fulfill that need, but I need everyone's help to do that. So just a really cool way to get the message out there that you're not invisible. None of us are. So that's May is Mental Health Awareness Month. The next session of Healthy You, which I said was mental health, the next session of Healthy You will be this coming Wednesday night, May 3rd, and it'll be at the community center on El Oso. And the topic there is bullying, cyberbullying, and internet safety. And we've got Ms. Gretchen Raziella coming to us from the Port St. Lucie Police Department. Gretchen has done, I know she did it last year for us, she does a phenomenal presentation on bullying. And we get a great crowd of various ages, from young to old like me. But and listening to Gretchen, and just to give you a teaser on it, if you will, bullying has been around since my day. I mean, that hasn't changed. But what really has changed for us is the session she does on cyberbullying and internet safety. I mean, that wasn't, I didn't have to navigate that. And so it's very informative, very educational, which is what Healthy You is all about. So that's Wednesday night at the community center, free. And if you would like to join, pre-register, just like you did for tonight, because I do order food, so I need to know the count for that. And then on your tables are our program brochure and our May calendar. So check that out. And I'm so happy you came out to Minsky Gym. And we are going to go ahead and get started. Without further ado, and please help yourselves to the food, should you need some more. But we're going to have our presenter. We are blessed to have 2 different presenters tonight. And just for Helen and Jessica's sake, apparently we're to stand about here for the recording, okay? But first, I want to offer out our first presenter, and this lady's name is Helen McDonald. I have known Ms. McDonald for a few years anyway, but she has a Master of Health Service Administration degree from Strayer University and a Bachelor of Science in Biology from Shaw University. A native of Fayetteville, North Carolina, Helen taught in the public and college settings for 14 years until her move to Florida in 2018. She has worked as a child protective investigator with the Department of Children and Families and a tobacco prevention specialist with the Department of Health since November of 21. Helen is passionate about educating the community and engaging with the youth. She has one daughter, Naima. Oh my word, I did that. What a pretty name. Awesome. All right, that's our first presenter. And the second one I'm going to go ahead and read so that they can just flow right into one another. Our second presenter comes to us. Her name is Jessica Chasen, right? And she has a master's degree from the Business School of Accounting at Nova Southeastern University. She's the CEO of Chasen Realty Incorporated, a motivational speaker, and a certified tobacco treatment specialist. With over 10 years dedicated to addressing tobacco addiction, Jessica strives every day to empower Treasure Coast community stakeholders, including medical professionals, employers, addiction recovery, and government offices to help those struggling to quit tobacco. Tobacco is the #1 cause of death, above drugs, alcohol, and even COVID. People do want to quit, they just don't know how. Born and raised in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, her fascination with tobacco addiction began at a very young age due to a majority of her family smoking cigarettes. Jessica began smoking herself at the age of 13, and it was common to smoke with aunts, uncles, parents, and grandparents. By the time she was 17, she realized it would be very difficult to quit. Jessica's cousin, Pam, passed away from stage 4 lung cancer at the age of 47. I'm very sorry for your loss. Pam achieved sobriety at the age of 42 and was directed by family, sponsors, and even society to focus on alcohol and to not worry about tobacco. Her passing was motivation enough for Jessica Chasen to gather the courage to begin her path to become tobacco-free. Jessica Chasen resides in Jensen Beach, Florida, and proudly represents the Everglades Area Health Education Center's Tobacco Cessation program throughout the Treasure Coast. Happily married to Zachary Chasen, she has 2 sons, Carter and Connor, ages 11 and 8, a daughter, Emma, who is 9 months old, and a furry Siberian husky named Oliver. Why didn't you bring him? How cool, how cool. Those are our 2 presenters, enough credentials to fill the room here. The only thing I would add, and a couple of my regulars know this, the presenters I know are game for questions and answers. I would only ask when you have a question, one of us is going to have to give you a microphone because we are recording this session. So for anybody who missed this, it will be recorded and on our website, okay? But when you ask a question, that won't be on the recording. You'll get the presenter answering, but not your question. So we want to get everyone's input on it. So we'll have to give you a microphone for any questions and answers. The presenters will also be here after they get done presenting. If you want to come up and have a one-on-one conversation, I'm sure they're open to that. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Ms. McDonald up here to speak on tobacco and vaping cessation.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hi everyone. Good evening. So I have my little notes. Click right here. So I am happy to be here this evening to talk to you guys about tobacco and the vaping epidemic that is plaguing our community, more so our youth. So with that, I am the tobacco prevention specialist with the Department of Health. So I'm a little well versed with that. Go out to the schools and things like that, talking to our youth. So we'll just get right ahead into it. So the youth vaping epidemic, one of the things I want to share with you guys is some quotes that you may have known or heard before, and these are coming from the tobacco industry. We don't smoke that explicit. We just sell it. We reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, the black, and the stupid. And this is from an R.J. Reynolds executive back in August of 1992. They got lips, we want them. This was an answer that was given to a sales representative from R.J. Reynolds whenever he asked the company which young people they were targeting. And this is when they were targeting the junior high kids or even younger. The base of our business is the high school student. So they're always targeting, and this was back in 1978. I was born in that year, so that's a long time. Younger adult smokers are the only source of replacement smokers. If younger adults turn away from smoking, the industry must decline. This was from R.J. Reynolds, February 29, 1984. R.J. Reynolds is not new to me. I am from North Carolina, so R.J. Reynolds is a really big staple in that state. University of Chapel Hill, NC State, you always hear about the Tobacco Road rivalry. This is one of the biggest industries in that state. I even remember having tobacco fields growing up, when I was younger, and people cropping tobacco and selling it and things of that nature. So I know how it's normalized in that state, and it was kind of normalized for me as well. But as I got into tobacco prevention and I started to really see what the danger was and what was going on, our youth are really being targeted the most when it comes to the vaping epidemic that we have here now. All right. So one thing is that we're clear with is that even though we say vaping, but there's all kinds of different names when it comes to these electronic vaping products. There is e-cigarettes, e-pipes, the hookah pens and sticks, and that's really, really popular among our youth and our young adults now. The vapes, vape pens, the jewels, pod vapes, mods, tank systems, squonks. So these things you hear different names for them, but they're all the same thing. And this is what we call them, the electronic vaping products or electronic vapings of nicotine delivery systems. So the e-cigarette is composed of a lot of different components. So you have that lithium battery, and that's, of course, your energy source for the vape pen. There's the atomizer, which is the heating element, and it's often coiled up. There's the e-liquid or the e-juice that is put inside of it. A lot of people don't use the e-juice. I mean, some of them do, but our teens, they mostly get those disposable ones. So if you ever go into the, not the grocery store, but the convenience stores, and we know that power wall behind the cash register, every time you see those disposable ones, it's already in there, so they don't have to put anything in it. It's just coming right there. They get about 1,000 puffs out of it, and then they just throw it away. There's the cartridge, which holds the e-liquid and also holds the atomizer, and then there's that aerosol. A lot of people have this distinction that it's a water vapor that is coming out of the pipe, out of the pen. I was actually at a store yesterday or the day before, and there was a gentleman right there at the entrance, and he was vaping, and he just blew it right there, and I just cringed because I knew what was in it, and I knew what the components were that was inside of it. When it comes to this, the atomizer here, we look at the vape pen. So it's evolved throughout the years. So at first, it was this right here, and they call those the one-hitters. So then it went a little bit bulkier to this one here. I need to go, okay. And then it's modernized a little bit to these pods that you see here. So you can see like the jewel, where you can See the atomizer, the coils are basically down there at the bottom along with the battery. Now that's a lithium battery. So when that battery is getting heated up, all of those toxins are mixed up together and they are ingesting into our system. There have been a lot of issues with people who have had issues with vaping because what is in the toxins that are inside of it. So like I said, we have the water vapor or the aerosol. So here you can see the e-cigarette aerosol that users breathe from the devices contains those harmful substances. So some of those substances are the nicotine. You have the ultra-fine particles that cling onto your lungs, and that's where a lot of people have gotten popcorn lung off of that. They're the cancer-causing chemicals or the carcinogens that are in there, the heavy metals such as nickel, tin, lead, and then the flavoring. Diacetyl is this chemical that's really linked to a lot of serious lung diseases. Now, I wanted to break it down just a little bit further so you can see exactly what the aerosol it contains. So the first we have is the propylene glycol, which is also found in antifreeze. And after I was doing some research on it, I realized that that's a chemical or a substance that's also in some of the foods that we eat. But once this is heated up, then once it's at room temperature, gives off an odorless, kind of like sweet taste that they use inside of the vape pens. The other thing that you have that's found inside of it is acetone. And us as ladies, and maybe gentlemen, you may go get a pedicure or manicure. We know that's fingernail polish remover. So that's also found inside of it. The formaldehyde, which is, of course, we find it in with embalming. If you're science geek like I am, I love to dissect and things like that. Never really knew that that was inside of that water or that aerosol that's there. And last but not least is the aluminum that's found in fireworks. A lot of people don't realize that these chemicals are inside of it because the first thing that you taste is that sweet. And then after you exhale it, you may get some of that chemical on the back end of it, but that sweet is still in your mouth. So when people smell it, they smell the sweet. They don't necessarily smell the chemicals that's there. All right, so I have a little game for you guys, and I want you to kind of guess which one's here. So we have a bottle of hot sauce at the top. We have like an ice cream cone, a USB flash drive, some mints. This is like slushy, and then this is some cookies. So I want you all to tell me that the 3 items that you think are not vaping related. So I got hot sauce. So you think hot sauce is not. Okay, so I got 1 hot sauce is not. The slushy, you don't think the slushy is related to it. Okay, that's a slushy. And give me 1 more. The ice cream. All right. Anyone else? Anything else? Anyone else? No? Okay. So the first thing we'll go with are the sprinkles. The sprinkles are regular sprinkles, but make no mistake, this is one of the flavors of the tobacco companies uses to hook kids on, right? So we said hot sauce, ice cream, and slushy, right? Those are not vaping related, right? Okay. The slushy is an e-juice. So that's how they get it now. Like, there's so many different ways that they're getting it. The study found that 70% of tested e-juice uses a flavor agent called, we know as diacetyl, known to cause lung cancer. So this is an e-juice here. That's disguised as just regular slushy. The cookies is also another e-juice, but it's being disguised as an after-school snack. The ice cream. So the ice cream eraser, it actually is an eraser, but they do have products that look similar to the ice cream cone there. The USB flash drives, these are actual flash drives, but they do have vape pens that are designed to look like those. And then last but not least is our hot sauce, and our hot sauce is actually vape juice. So this one here is talking about how the skin exposure to the e-juice can cause seizures and burns on teeth. I like to show this right here because a lot of people, kind of the looks that you guys have on your face now is kind of like, wow, didn't know it. The tobacco industry and the vaping industry they go hand in hand. So what the tobacco industry used back in the days, you remember whenever you could smoke on airplanes and the doctor's offices and, you know, with your kids in the car, no one said anything to you about it. The vaping industry, they're owned by the tobacco companies, and they're taking a page out of their book when it comes to their targeting and their marketing strategies. How many of you can guess, if you could just throw out a number, how many different flavors of e-juice that there are? Like different, I don't like to say e-juice, but different flavors of vaping pens or devices. 700? Okay. 10, just 10? Just 10? Okay. Someone else give me a number. How many? I got 700 here. 8,000? Okay. Anyone else? This actually is, there's approximately 15,000, over 15,000 different flavors that are out now. That is, and I had the slide that was there, but it was technical stuff on my end. But just to show you the different names of it, they have Booger Sugar, they have Captain Crunch, Vanilla Strawberry, anything that's sweet and enticing for a youth. You know, a teen likes those different kind of flavors because everyone wants to kind of be like exotic. You know, they want to have the trendiest thing there. So that's why the tobacco industry or the vaping industry has created all these different products. Now you think you're putting all these different chemicals together to get this one product. What is that doing to the inside of your body? All right, it's a good job. All right, so I wanted to pull out a little bit of data that we got back from the Florida Youth Tobacco Survey. We just, that data has been released to us lately, and I just wanted to share some of the things that you have here. Out of the middle school and high school students who were assessed or who took the survey, you have them here that it's middle and high school students who have ever used an electronic vaping product. In 2022, we are below the state's average. The state is at 21% and we are at 19.8%. So I think that's really good. However, if you see the numbers, the trend has dropped. We were at 29.3% in 2020, and we were way above at 27.5% for the state of Florida. When Juul and these vaping pens first came out back in, most of it really became popular back in 13, 14. They were invented in China in 2003, just to give you a little history of that. But we didn't have a lot. But then as it got popular amongst, the teenagers, celebrities, peers, whomever, then we see the numbers that are increasing. But I wanted to break those numbers down just a little bit further for you. These numbers here reflect the students that are in the 6th through the 10th grades. We didn't get any data for 11th to 12th graders, and I don't know what happened. But there were 9% of students in the 6th grade compared to the state level of 8.6 who've ever used that. So we're talking about 6th graders coming out of elementary school here. 13.1% of students in the 7th grade, and they're right a little bit below the state average of 13.4. It was 18.6 in the 8th grade, and that's above the state average of 17.7%. 21.9 in 9th graders compared to 23.1 for the state. 19.8 10th graders compared to 24.6%. Now, I also had some data showing that the percentage of kids in this county that thinks that it's cool to vape or use tobacco products exceeded the state's level by, I think it was like 19.8%. No, I'm sorry, 8.6%. I had to get my numbers right, but it was more than what the state average was when it came to like students wanting to use vaping or, you know, smoke cigarettes to kind of fit in or be cool. And I thought about it and I was like, that is true, because when we look at our youth, we got a lot of things that teens like to do. You know, our kids, they go through this transition. So in childhood, we know that we protect them, they're censored, they're dependent upon us, and they're kind of controlled because, you know, we have to tell them to get up, get ready for school, and this is who you can hang out with and who you can't hang out with. And then as adults, you know, they're exposed to more things, they're more independent, they're self-directed. And when you look at how it is, like the teens, all they want to do is they want to fit in, and they want to feel as though they are in control of these things. They want to be in control of their lives. They want to make their own decision. And what the tobacco industry does is, or the vaping industry, like I said, both go hand in hand. They utilize that, and that's how they target them. They try to make their products so appealing to them that only, you know, that you can use this. You're the one that's in control with it. And so when we look at some more, you know, how our teens are looking at it, we talk about the marketing strategy of it, right? So if you're in control, they're the ones that's here. So you looking at this marketing, you're like, this is so cool, I want to do this. So I have these, this right here, and I want you guys to look at the Baskin-Robbins. What do you see when you see the Baskin-Robbins logo? The 31, right? Now, I will tell you this. Baskin-Robbins has been around. I used to go there as a kid. My dad took us there on Sundays after church. I never knew it. I never saw it. Yeah, right. Yeah, and I never knew it before until I really started looking. I was like, wow, it's a 31. 31, their flavors, right? So then let's look at Amazon. What is Amazon's marketing strategy when it comes to their logo? Anything from A to Z, and we'll deliver it to you with a smile. And we know Amazon is like, that's the holy grail, right? So, but that's what you know, they use those marketing strategies to keep you engaged in their products, because anytime you see that Amazon logo or that Baskin-Robbins logo, you know that it's, you know, they have the quality behind their name. So with the tobacco industry and the vaping industry, like I said, they go hand in hand. This is a advertisement for cigarettes, you know, I'll say back in the 1950s, 60s, something like that. But then look at how it's like all over America, more scientists and educators smoke Kent with the micronite filter. For good smoking taste, it makes good sense to smoke Kent. So people, you know, they put them in the magazines, you see them on the TV, they're on the billboard, all this stuff here. And then you have the vaping industry. Love your lungs. Love your lungs. That's it. Love your lungs. Because they're saying, well, our product is going to be so good. It's going to give you that relief. It's going to make you just get all rid of that anxiety that you have. And we're like, okay. So then we look at some more of their strategies. What we have here is an entertainer. Two entertainers, you never know. One is talking about, there's the blue, the vaping jewel there. And then, you know, we have another entertainer here, and I put that one in on purpose because of the society that we have now, you know. But they target every age group. They target every community, and they put their advertisements to be relatable to whomever they're targeting. This one here is like more of like a Swedish advertisement. But then you also use Santa Claus. I don't always vape, but when I do, I choose Vapor Shark. So who do we know that use, you know, that like Santa Claus? Of course, you know, we got our little kids. So with the vaping industry and the tobacco company, like I said, they go hand in hand. They are one and the same, especially when it comes to the targeting and the marketing of our youth. So these pictures here that I have, I just wanted to show just some things here. And these are people who have, I would say, got hurt from vaping. They were hospitalized after they were vaping. When I show these pictures to our youth, a lot of them kind of get a little squeamish in the face and can't believe it. Can't see it too because I didn't realize here, but as of February 2023, there have been 68 deaths that have been confirmed and over 2,800 lung injuries as a result of vaping and, vaping products. One of the most things that have come about now is what they call popcorn lung, and that's where these little kind of like air sacs get on the bronchial tubes of your lungs, and it makes it more difficult to breathe, and so they call it popcorn lung. A lot of youth don't know about it, a lot of adults don't know about it, but that resulted specifically from vaping, from the people that have been, vaping. Our bodies are different. Everyone's going to handle it a little bit different. I did read recently that in another county here in Florida that 2 middle school students had to be rushed to the hospital because of vaping. They were at school, they were in the bathroom, which is where they go, and they, one of the girls were unresponsive whenever they got there. She was still breathing, but she was just unresponsive, so they had to call EMS to her. They figured out who was in the bathroom with her, got one of the other girls to come in, and she finally told that the vaping pen was up in the ceiling, which is where they were hiding it at, and then another student had to be rushed because she was having trouble breathing as well. I've had other providers in different counties tell me that they've had issues with the youth flushing the vapes down in the toilet and the bathroom, so they've having plumbing issues from that. So it's really big in our schools, but we're trying to curb it, but we just have to get more information out to them. I like to read here. This is Justin. Justin was placed in a coma after he appeared to have an asthma attack. He started vaping after he chose to quit smoking cigarettes. Justin would smoke 2 mint pods a day. Now, okay, I'm done. Right before having to be rushed to the hospital, he passed out and his friends told him his face turned purple and his lips were blue. Doctors discovered his lungs were coated with oil, leading to the diagnosis of vaping toxicity. Now, I asked this question here. Does anyone know how many cigarettes equals to 1 Juul pod or 1 vaping pod? Guess? So you said 20? Okay. Anyone else? 20? It's actually 30. So there's 30, so 1 Juul pod equals to 30 cigarettes. And we know that there's 20 cigarettes in a pack, so that's 1.5 packs. And this guy was smoking 2 of these a day. So he was smoking 60 cigarettes in 1 day, right? So he came out of it, he's doing better, but he was in a coma. They had to put him in a medically induced coma. This next one is Seema, and I like Seema because she is what a lot of students or a lot of youth she's relatable to what their mentality is now. Seema didn't think of herself as a smoker, but was put on life support for vaping. One August day in 2019, she was having trouble breathing and was rushed to the hospital. She felt like she was going to die as she couldn't if she couldn't drink water or move. Chest x-rays show white hazy areas at the bottom of her lungs that doctors initially thought was pneumonia. She was placed in a medically induced coma, which is when her cousin told her family what she had been hiding. She was vaping. She stayed in a coma for 5 days and disclosed that she would vape every 10 to 15 minutes. This one right here strikes me, and I don't say I like it, but to show this to our youth, because I asked them a question about them walking down the street and they're walking with their friend and there's a vape pen on the ground and their friend picks it up wipes it off and they vape it. And then all of a sudden, a little bit later on in the day, they have trouble breathing, they pass out, and they have to be rushed to the hospital. So my question to them is, do you tell what was happening, what they did, or do you not say anything? And it was surprising to hear a lot of the youth say, I wouldn't say anything. But then it was okay to hear them say, yeah, I would tell because, they need to know. So when I show them this, I'm like, this is a result of not telling, because her cousin waited until she was in this medically induced coma before she told her parents what was really going on. And they didn't know because, like most parents, you don't really know that your child is vaping because you trust them. You rear them up in a way that you think that they're going to go, and you're like, they'll be okay. They're hanging around with good people. But at the same time, our children are getting these things from older adults. They're finding them from strangers. They actually get them from strangers, and they use them. They don't think that it's addictive. They don't think that that it's an issue. They think they just can quit. And I was telling them, like, it's not as easy as you think. So that is what I have here. So like I said, I'm Helen McDonald. If you need any more information about the vaping epidemic amongst our youth, I did leave some information there on the table there. That's my contact information and my email address. And I thank you all so much. Does anyone have any questions? No? All right. Oh.
Well, I'm not familiar with the Juul device, but can a person who is vaping take the device and make the nicotine or the drug or the narcotic more dangerous by putting heroin in it or something lethal and make it more threatening to their lives if they used it?
I'm quite sure that they can. Now, they do sell products or list products that say that they are no tobacco, no nicotine, but they still have that lithium battery that's inside of it. So people that are still putting like the e-juices and things like that to get it, yeah, they can definitely do that to make it more dangerous and harmful to them. Yeah. We haven't had any data or research on that, but it's a possibility.
And are all the products nicotine products?
The majority of them are. Like I said, there are some companies that state that they are no tobacco or no nicotine. I haven't seen any of them in the stores in our county, but in other counties they do have them. They sell them online, but I haven't seen them here. There are also the issue of the counterfeit vape pens, so the ones, if you see them that have like the Disney characters on it or Nickelodeon or anything like that, those have not been licensed by those companies to market their products. So they're counterfeit, and so they're against the law. So when we see them, we report them to the state attorney general, and they get all of that stuff. We don't know what else happens after that, but there have been issues with that. We haven't had it in our county, but in other counties, like further down south and probably, up north, they've had it, but we haven't had it.
And lastly, if you're in a room with 10 people, each of whom were just using the e-vaping product, would they have a body odor? Would I be able to tell that, hey, you've been smoking or vaping? Like I do a normal smoker, and they have a terrible smell.
So secondhand smoke is just as relevant and prevalent when it comes to the vaping, and you can have like that that chemical smell that is still on them that's in the air. So that is, you can tell, it may not be as strong as traditional cigarette smoking is, but you can still smell it, and that's called third-hand smoke, by the way. All right, anyone else? No? Okay, well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Helen. That was so awesome.
I love how she focused so much too on the vaping epidemic, because she and Helen does work with the youth. I actually work with all tobacco products, including vaping, but also combustible traditional tobacco, as well as your dips and chews and stuff like that. So my name is Jessica Chasen, and I do work for the Everglades Area Health Education Center. I'm a certified tobacco treatment specialist, and again, and thank you so much for reading my bio so beautifully. I am a former smoker, and that's what I really like to highlight. So just to give you a quick overview of what we're going to present tonight, I just want to give you a little bit of a history behind what Helen and I do, and also I want you guys to have a little bit better understanding about dependence on these substances. I think that's a very important part of this, and of course I'd like to highlight our services and what I actually do, because I don't just come out on Thursday nights and hang out and present, although that would be a fabulous job. In 1998, there was something called the Tobacco Master Settlement. Some of you might remember it, but basically the 50 states in the U.S. Sued the big four tobacco companies, and the big four tobacco companies, as we know, were Philip Morris, R.J. Reynolds, Brown and Williamson, and Lorillard. And when they got sued for, the 50 states wanted reimbursed for medical expenses associated with all the disease that was caused from smoking. The 50 states did win, and they won $400 billion. It was even still to date, the largest settlement in U.S. history. It was incredible. It was later adjusted to $265 billion, but you get the point. So as a result, there was some marketing restrictions, so all that advertising Helen was talking about with traditional tobacco, it did stop. But history, of course, is repeating itself with the vapes. But specifically here in the beautiful state of Florida, we received $11 billion out of that portion of the lawsuit. And a big chunk of that money went towards prevention, which is why we do have a really low number of our youth using traditional combustible tobacco. It's incredibly low. It's like the lowest ever. And that just shows what the students working against tobacco and prevention has done to help with the tobacco prevalence. Tobacco-Free Florida was born, that Tobacco-Free Florida initiative. You guys know what it is, right? You see the commercials on TV, or maybe you hear the advertisements on the radio. So Tobacco-Free Florida was born using this money, this $11 billion, and they developed curriculums, the evidence-based curriculums, to help people quit smoking. And they offer multiple different ways to quit smoking, quit using tobacco, and again, all forms of tobacco. One of the ways is the quit line, which is over the phone. You can also go online and quit through that way. And you can also do the in-person classes. And that, of course, is where I come in. So to start off, I do like to just highlight what tobacco products we're talking about here. And this is what I love to call my dependence factor chart. Okay, so we have different types of products. We have the cigarettes, we have the dip and the snuff and the snus, and then we have our electronic nicotine delivery system, which as Helen described, is the vapes. Guys, each of these products are a high dependence, but for different reasons. So did everyone here know that 7,000 chemicals are in one cigarette? So the tobacco companies add between 400 and 600 chemicals into every brand of cigarettes, the lights, the ultralights, the menthol, non-menthol, the roll your own, the American Spirit with the Native American Indian on the packaging. They add between 400 and 600 chemicals, but when you light that cigarette is when the combustion turns the 400 to 600 chemicals into over 7,000. So what those chemicals do is they release something called dopamine in your brain, and that is what keeps people coming back for more. So because of the high number of chemicals, That is why cigarettes become so dependent, okay? Now, as Helen mentioned, the marketing restrictions, they're now limited. And they also have very limited flavors with tobacco. Traditional tobacco only has menthol, non-menthol. Okay, so they limited that back in 2008 with the Family and Tobacco Control Act. Okay, there's also limited places to smoke. We can't smoke in the doctor's offices and in the airplanes anymore, okay? Now our dip, snuff, and snus, you see those, guys, those have between 400 and 600 chemicals, so not as many, still high, but not as many. But because you can do the dip everywhere and anywhere, I mean, Helen could have a dip in her mouth right now. We would never even know it. I doubt she does, though. So the idea is, guys, is that because of the convenience factor with using the dip, that's why we have a very high dependence. You literally have that dip flowing all day long, and when you're done with your dip, what do? You put another one in. Okay. Now, of course, the vapes, as Helen highlighted very well, guys, we don't know what's in each type. There's thousands of them, and there's 15,000 different ingredients that they, again, mix, and there's different heating elements involved and different combustion. So we don't know exactly what's in each one of them, but what we do know is because of the fabulous flavors, and you can be so discreet, they don't have that traditional smoke smell. Great question that you asked earlier, sir. Because of that, you have a very high dependence factor, and of course, because of that synthetic nicotine, that's sort of like tobacco nicotine on steroids. So in 2020, I always like to highlight the deaths in comparison, because I think if any of you are familiar with addiction recovery, you would go into an AA meeting or an addiction facility and you would find everyone sitting around smoking cigarettes, okay? So drugs specifically has jumped significantly, the number of drug deaths. It's actually doubled because of the opioid and the fentanyl crisis that we're experiencing. 93,000 people died from drugs, and it is very sad. This is United States. Alcohol, 90,000. Coronavirus, 430,000 on its worst year, okay? And I always like to put in tobacco, of course, to compare 500,000 deaths a year. It's the #1 cause of disease and death. You can buy it at any grocery store or convenience store. It's disgusting. 7,000 chemicals that we're powerfully addicted to. If anyone's afraid to jump in the ocean, don't be. You should be afraid to smoke a cigarette, okay? I always like to compare secondhand smoke, too, with car accidents. So believe it or not, the number of deaths from secondhand smoke is 50,000. So why is it legal? Anyone want to answer that question? Why would it be legal? You know. The almighty dollar, right? Money, money, and more money. Guys, in the government's defense, too, we all smoked back when tobacco came through. We were all addicted to it, and we didn't know how bad it was, right? And also, if they did make it illegal, let's pretend tomorrow you couldn't buy your Marlboros. 15% of people smoke today. 15% of people would not be happy, okay? They would not be happy at all. And then, of course, they would vape anyway. Also, there would become a black market. And what are we doing with that? Was another great comment that you made earlier, sir. Because what do we do with black market? We add things to it and make them more dangerous. And again, a lot of that has to do with the fentanyl and the opioid crisis. So who's affected by addiction, guys? Addictions are not about intelligence. Albert Einstein died from cigarettes. Walt Disney died from cigarettes. People don't generally become addicts because they have emotional or psychological problems, but rather they developed emotional or psychological problems because of an addiction, because of that dependence. So dependence causes anxiety. Anxiety isn't cured by addiction, okay? 85% of people with a behavioral health condition do use tobacco. And guys, behavioral health does include addiction recovery. It also includes mental illness. We must understand the nature of any specific addiction to get past it. And what makes tobacco addiction so unique? Well, a few things. Tobacco users don't smoke to get high. They smoke to not go in withdrawal or feel normal, okay? It's legal and easily acceptable, of course. Life is manageable when using tobacco and not so manageable with other substance. Tobacco users don't hit that rock bottom point of quitting as frequently as other substances. Okay, so my family won't disown me for smoking a cigarette, right? I won't go to jail for smoking a cigarette. But when I do hit my rock bottom from smoking cigarettes, guess what that entails? A medical diagnosis, okay? And then, of course, it's too late for me to quit. The frequency of use and the length of time tobacco users use tobacco is unlike any other substance, conditioning them to believe that they cannot live without it. There's different levels of addiction, guys. There's the biological, which is the genetic structure of that brain that makes us more prone to addiction. So for some, it is harder to quit than others. If you've ever met someone that quit no problem, then you should think everyone should just quit no problem, right? Not so easy. The sociological, it's the most common way of learning any behavior, and of course, as Helen highlighted, the tobacco companies spend billions of dollars in marketing, billions. Those beautiful ads she had, they're brilliant. Psychological, we use tobacco as a medication to avoid unpleasant feelings, or in other words, withdrawals. We create a need for a substance abuse, okay? I always use the broken arm example. If I broke my arm right now and it's broken, and I have some swelling, and my arm is broken, and I'm in some pain, should I fix my broken arm by putting some ice on it and taking a pain pill? Probably not. That'll help with my symptoms, but it won't fix my broken arm, will it? Okay? So you need to fix the problem, not treat the symptoms. And that's what we do when we smoke or vape, okay? We are treating our withdrawal symptoms. So does smoking fill the void or create it? Both. Okay, it temporarily fills it, but then it creates it again when you don't have the cigarette or the vape. So what we have, guys, is a fear of deprivation, a fear of change, a fear of loss, failure, fear of coping with emotions without the substance that we've coped with our emotions for decades, and the fear of facing anything from morning coffee to driving in our car to after a meal without smoking. Guys, the evidence-based curriculums that we use, we have a Quit Smoking Now and a Tools to Quit program. Quit Smoking Now program is 1 hour a week for 6 weeks. A trained professional facilitator provides people with education, support, accountability, and nicotine replacement therapy, free nicotine patches, gum, and lozenges. Tools to Quit program, it's a 2-hour seminar when people aren't ready to commit to a weekly class. It's a customized plan, and they create the plan together, and then it's up to them to execute the plan out on their own. All of them are completely for free, guys, and they are also virtual as well. So we have them in person throughout the counties, at local various places, parks, libraries, anywhere, medical pavilions, anywhere you can think of. We have a list of schedule. So what we do is we meet weekly, and again, it's like an AA meeting, but for cigarettes. Nicotine replacement therapy, we offer patches, gum, and lozenges. Guys, what we really like is to use combination therapy. We like to use patches plus that nicotine gum together. It gives the person the flexibility of having more when they would have smoked more, or none at all if they wouldn't have smoked at all, if they're not craving a cigarette. All of these are completely for free, again, funded by that tobacco settlement of 1998. In-person classes here in St. Lucie County, we have at Kiwanis Park in Port St. Lucie. We have them at the Hands Clinic in Fort Pierce. We have them up in Vero. We have them at the House of Hopes in Jensen Beach and Stewart. We have Zoom virtual class options where you can actually log in pretty much any day of the week at any hour, and we have a quit smoking class. And what we do is we mail your products to your house, and again, we quit with the group. It's really very interesting. Guys, if any of you are struggling to quit, or need a private class, like at any of your organizations, like if you work at Burger King or something and 5 employees smoke, we will come in and do a free class and a program to help anyone quit smoking. And again, it's not just smoking cigarettes. I get caught up using that word. It is vaping. It is any type of tobacco, nicotine addiction. Again, all of it is very powerful, and we have a very wonderful understanding of how to address that dependence. But thank you all. I appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir. The question is, what is the success rate in our program? So all I know about that question, I think I'm going to say it's 70% to directly answer your question. But I do know my colleague likes to say, if it's even 1%, what do you care as long as you're the 1%? But I will say too, guys, that the success rate is going to be different for 1 month, 6 months, 1 year. I know this. This is a very expensive program that we provide for free, and they're not required to. If it wasn't working or helping, and please keep in mind, guys, the state has a very high interest in you quitting because they do not want to pay for your cancer treatment. Okay, they don't want to pay for your oxygen tank. And anyone know the number 1 cause of death from tobacco? It's actually heart disease. Okay, and if I come disabled, the government will have to pay for my care, and they're not interested, especially Florida, because they have a high Medicare bill as it is, if you know what I mean.
Okay. If someone does your program for 6 weeks and 6 months later relapses, can they do the program again?
I have people that come every week for years so they don't relapse, but yes, we invite people continuously. As long as they think it helps, we encourage them to continue to come and receive all the products.
If someone was a casual smoker in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then stopped completely at 60 years old, is it the case that when they're 70, 75, do they effectively have new lungs?
So everyone is so different. There's no way that I could specifically answer that question for each individual. But guys, within 20 minutes, your blood pressure goes down and you're at a reduced risk of a sudden heart attack. Yes, and I have 78-year-olds, again, you could say, oh, it's too late for me, the damage is done. That's silly. Within just a matter of a couple of days, most folks breathe better. They have more oxygen, their veins aren't constricted. So yes, of course your lungs are going to clear out. I mean, there's average statistics out there I could go on and on for days about, which I won't do to you. But generally speaking, your lungs will continue to heal, and they could either go to a 50% as a non-smoker or even back to a non-smoker. It just would depend on each individual circumstance and how your body receives them.
Do you think in the student category, juniors and seniors, has there been any decrease in the overall percentage of smokers?
Well, if you're talking about combustible cigarettes, yes, but as Helen unfortunately just reported on, the vaping industry has very much so been very appealing to the youth. So it looks like we're going to have our jobs a little while.
The most attractive one or the most popular thing is the vaping amongst our youth. So they still are trying the traditional cigarettes, the combustible cigarettes, but the vaping is where it's at because they're not only just vaping, but they're also using the hookah, also known as like the shisha. So that's where the trend goes up more with that.
May I ask, so for the smoking person, you're smoking, who says, I do it because it makes me more alert, or it controls my weight and I want to lose weight.
I love that.
Are either of those arguments valid?
No, because what happened, so first this comment was concentration. One of the withdrawals from quitting smoking is unable to concentrate. So the reason you can't concentrate to begin with is because you need a cigarette. You're in withdrawal. So again, cigarettes cause you to not be able to concentrate. They cause anxiety. They cause the cravings because when you don't have the substance you're dependent on, you go into a state of withdrawal. So that is, I know it's hard. Again, we've conditioned ourselves 20 times a day for decades in a lot of cases, so it's hard to retrain our brains to understand that. But generally speaking, the only reason you can't focus is because you need that cigarette. So it's the dependence causing that. The hunger, of course, nicotine does. the weight gain. Guys, if someone gains weight when they quit smoking, they don't gain weight because they quit smoking. They gain weight because they're eating a bunch of junk instead of smoking. So the idea truly is if you're not and we do that we do address that in our program. I'll give you the short answer on that one. We spend some time on that because that is a concern. Wonderful, wonderful answering your questions. And Patty, thank you so very much. She's a wonderful host. Please come out and see her, guys.